Thank you folks for joining. We only have 72 slides to get through and 5 speakers in 50 minutes so that we can take your questions. So please think about some good questions here. Why are we doing this? Because, well, you got to get more holistic with marketing. People have always been thinking about how can I take my email list and upload it into Meta and Google Ads, and then they forget. And now there's this like beautiful advent, this moment in history where Klaviyo has decided to make it so simple to have dynamic self-managed lists based on rules that automatically populate into Google Ads and Meta. And there's a read to and a read out or a write out capability that we want to talk about. It's an amazing inflection in holistic marketing. And as the leaders in holistic marketing, we just want to talk about it. My name is Nick Rajpal. I've been here for 15 years. I joined the company to develop all of our core solutions, our SEO, Google Ads, email marketing, conversion testing, Amazon departments from scratch, and our strategy team. And over these 15 years, we've grown quite a bit. And now I lead a different strategy team that helps us embrace holistic strategy for e-commerce and the 15 plus channels that it takes to do a great job.
Hello, everyone. I'm Faith Gagliardi. I have been at Exclusive for, almost 5 years now, but I have about 15 years of work experience in the field, working on a whole bunch of different areas, of course, especially email and SMS marketing here at Exclusive. Work very closely with the Klaviyo team. I'm looking forward to talking with you all today.
Awesome. And I'm Melissa Knowlton. I'm the head of paid search and video advertising here at Exclusive. I've been Exclusive for 4 years this week, so it's been a fun time. I actively manage a list or my own portfolio of clients, but then also lead strategy on search, display, video, and discovery on Google Ads and Microsoft, as well as leading the team on it. And I'm also super excited to be here today.
Hi, everyone. My name is Caitlin Kerr. I'm social marketing manager here at Exclusive. I've been here for actually 4.5 years, so just a little bit longer than Melissa. But before that, I've had a lot of experience on the social marketing side of things. Meta, Instagram, Pinterest, TikTok, you name it. Definitely have experience there. Here at Exclusive, I help lead the social team. I also have a client portfolio as well, but very, very excited to talk with you all of how we can utilize email on the Meta side.
Awesome, and just quick intro to Exclusive. We've been around since 1997. We've always done holistic marketing, but with a focus on performance marketing. So most of our clients are engaging us to do a lot of different activities to help them grow to become a known brand. And on the flip side, sometimes the largest brands in the world need a performance edge and they come to us and bring us in. We operate in a unique fashion. We manage wherever our clients need to be to get customers. Right now, that's about 15 channels. So when we manage a channel, a specialist who understands that channel like better than anyone else manages the channel. But then we also do something different. We combine all the channels together into one platform, and we have a strategy team that tries to treat all of marketing across the wide span as if it was one platform. And we have a tech team that helps us kind of bring that all together, which is incredibly helpful. All of our clients are on an enterprise data warehouse we built from scratch that pulls in all the data, connects it together with the meta layer that allows us to have that strategic advise.
Hey everyone. Thank you, Nick, so much for inviting Klaviyo in and for inviting myself in to talk. For those of you who I've never met, I know there's some familiar faces I see in the attendees, which is awesome. Joe McCarthy, I'm on the partner marketing team here at Klaviyo. I've been here for almost 5 years, it'll be this fall, which is kind of crazy. And I'm so excited to talk about this. This is a topic that I remember back when I actually was on the agency side and working with e-com clients. And I remember being like, there has to be a better way to do this exact thing that we're going to talk about today, and we're going to talk about the better way. So that makes me really excited. But yeah, super jazzed. Let's go to the next slide here. For those of you who are not familiar with Klaviyo, and I know we have some customers on the call, so for those of you that are a customer, thank you so much for being a customer. If you're not familiar with Klaviyo, we're an intelligent marketing automation platform. Our goal is to make it really simple for marketers to do really amazing personalized marketing across a various set of channels. Today we're digging into Google and Meta, but if you ever have questions, feel free to ping me. I love to chat marketing strategy. Biggest thing that people choose Klaviyo for is, one, we make it super easy to do. Two, we pull all of your customer data into one central place, and that allows you to make really targeted, personalized marketing across all of those channels. And as we said, today we're talking about Meta and Google Ads. What you're going to hear me talk a lot about in the section that follows is Klaviyo. It's all about the data. It's all about getting as much information into Klaviyo about your customers as possible, because that's what makes all of that personalization possible and makes it really robust. I like to think about it like this, in this sort of circle view. I'm going to reference this when we come back to my section a little bit later, but I'm going to turn it back over to the team, but super excited to be here, and thank you all.
Yeah, it's so easy to have this conversation focused on Klaviyo, because Klaviyo has some of the workflows already, and over 100,000 e-commerce brands using Klaviyo. So we thought, let's have this discussion about the holistic interconnectivity between Google Ads, Meta, and email, and use Klaviyo as the standard. But it also helps us kind of explain our philosophy and what we do in these type of situations. Like I said earlier, we manage about 15 different channels just to be in front of where our clients need us to be so that they can attract customers. But 10 years ago, it was just 6 channels. That was it. That was the size of the internet. And now people have so many places where they can be, and it is a challenge. It gave us a shift in the way we think about things as well. We said we can't just keep going like line itemized marketing plans, Google Ads, this, what is the spend, what is the revenue? Even the revenue is different for everyone because they report in different ways. Let's change it. We have to do something different. We said, well, all of history of marketing, all the future of marketing, every platform of marketing, every good plan of marketing kind of focuses on 5 things. Let's get cold awareness for the perfect target. Let's get in front of people who are looking to buy in our category. That's consideration. Let's get back to people who came to the website but didn't buy. That's conversion. Let's ask past customers to buy again. That's loyalty. And let's ask past customers to say something nice about us. And that gets more awareness, more consideration, conversion, and your beautiful flywheel starts to spin. We said, let's capture that. Let's tag every campaign of every channel in a way that we can, in a channel agnostic view, see what our investment has been in each of these 5 desired outcomes, and kind of balance all of that towards a marketing efficiency ratio target. And just breaking things out like this allows us to then coordinate on awareness across all channels. The teams can work together on an awareness strategy, consideration, etc. As we started to embrace this, we realized, well, businesses get a lot of bad advice when it comes to this kind of stuff. Businesses that are being told, hey, you've got to be on Meta because it worked for my business. And they say, well, why would Meta work for my business? Well, how could that be? How could Meta work so well for one business but not the other? How could brand building be so important for one business and not for another? And we start to identify that the entire ecosystem of e-commerce is actually split into 2. There are some businesses where your customers will not buy unless they are primed with brand awareness. That's like buying a car. You're going to buy a car from a brand that you trust. Life insurance, running shoes. Those are all high brand awareness categories. Most of the internet is not like that, though. Most of the internet, people are like, the category I want to buy from. Let me see what's out there. Someone shows up, and that's where the engagement has to happen first. That's consideration. So those businesses that are search-based journeys, where you think that your customers will give you a shot, even if they've never heard of you before, then the emphasis on the marketing strategy is consideration and conversion. For businesses where no one's going to buy from you unless they have awareness, unfortunately, your big investment has to be on the awareness side. And as we start to go through our ideas for the rest of this presentation. We ask that you think about whether you and your competitors and the way your customers are conditioned have put you squarely into a search-based journey, or are you in a brand-based journey? So we ask that you just go to the questions box. Let's hear from some of you. Are you a search-based journey where you just have to show up to be able to start making sales? Or is it brand-based where unless people know your brand, you're not going to win? So we've got Amanda said search-based. Sarah's search-based. Marissa says search-based. Yeah, roughly 70% of ecom is search-based. Shannon says search-based. Brand awareness, TJ, brand-based, Marco. Search-based, brand-based. Awesome. I'll wait for a few more, but Carrie says search. But do think about this. This changes your entire marketing strategy. Fundamentally, it tells you whether your business lives and dies by search visibility or by brand awareness. Now, as you plan all that out, your investments in awareness, consideration, conversion, loyalty, all that still has to balance out to one number across all 15 channels. That's all the marketing dollars out, all the revenue in, marketing efficiency ratio. We consider that to be one fulcrum of planning for a lot of growth. There's another side as well, and that's customer lifetime value. Customer lifetime value is not a short-term thing like marketing efficiency ratio. It's a long-term play. If you know what your customer lifetime value is over a long period of time, which we've built some really nice reporting around, what's our customer lifetime value within 12 months, up to 3 years, what is our current cost per acquisition, what should our cost per acquisition target be based on our margin. This is something you want to keep sussing out as well, because your customer lifetime value might be 5 times greater than your first purchase. You might be holding back all your ad spend, trying to make those short-term gains, while not really increasing the value of your business. So a lot of what we're going to talk about today is going to fall in line with this general framework of the virtuous activity cycle, thinking about building awareness, consideration in Meta, Google, and TikTok ads, and pulling emails database into Klaviyo through those marketing activities. That's part one of what we're going to talk about. And then after you have that list, what do you do to mature them in Klaviyo till they buy? And then once you have these neat lists in Klaviyo, how do you push them back out into Meta, Google, Criteo, Pinterest, so you can mature people towards the first sale, to their next sale, towards advocacy? So we're going to break this into two parts. For those of you who've thought about the search and brand-based journey already, you can think about which emphasis you want to focus on for awareness versus consideration. So really quickly, I want to get some examples here of how you can create lead formats in different technologies like Google Ads and Meta that connect right into Klaviyo. So think about setting up awareness campaigns in Google Ads, Meta, and you've got these formats that people can engage with. How do you make sure that the format directly takes the email address and puts it right into Klaviyo? For Google Ads specifically, getting from a Google lead gen ad into Klaviyo is done with the help of a technology called Zapier. It's not very expensive, pretty effective. And the cool thing that happens is Google has built beautiful lead formats. And these lead formats are not just your form fill on your website. They can show up in display ads, in search ads itself, in video ads, in discovery ads. So as you are maturing people through their engagement with you, and you think you've hit a tipping point where they might be willing to finally give you the email address, you don't need to wait for them to go into your website in a funnel towards a form. You can just capture them right there, and boom, it goes into your Klaviyo. Kaylee, can you talk a little bit about how to do that with some of the social ads?
Yeah, so one thing that's really great about Meta and Klaviyo is that seamless integration. So when you set up an email lead generation campaign within Meta, that email goes directly to Klaviyo. It eliminates the manual upload that you have to do, which is really great. It saves on time, and it also is just that real-time effort of getting that email right to your Klaviyo flow that you want it to go to. One thing that's really great with Meta is that you have the ability to personalize your email lead form. So you can really collect the data you need, whether that be just the email address and the name, first and last name, or you can really be granular in terms of like asking what type of product do they like to buy, and other questions that really cater towards what you are looking for from your customer. So really with Meta and Instagram lead ads, you have that ability to really increase your email leads seamlessly with the integration with Klaviyo. And then moving on to TikTok. So TikTok is a little bit different from Meta. There's not a direct integration with Klaviyo. However, very similar to Google, you can use Zapier, or there's LeadsBridge as well, which is again helps you seamlessly take the email address that you gather from TikTok and send it directly to Klaviyo. So again, very, very powerful growth opportunity on the TikTok side that you may not even think about with TikTok. TikTok, you typically think of really just pushing your ads out there, but there is that capability of email lead generation. And again, with the Meta and Instagram side, TikTok also allows you to collect customer data and really be personalized with that as well. So you can see here, just really a seamless experience for lead conversion on the TikTok side.
All right, so now that you have a fresh database, how do you nurture those leads in your email and SMS program? So once you have them in Klaviyo, what are we going to do with them? Really, the very first thing that we're going to want to do is make sure that they have a really good onboarding welcome experience. So depending on all those numbers that Nick was talking about at the beginning, you know, your marketing efficiency ratio, your cost per acquisition, depending on how all that money pans out for you, you're going to want to offer different types of incentives across these different platforms as you're trying to, you know, get them to actually fill out the forms, and that data will get into Klaviyo. And then you have to make sure that you really deliver on those incentives that you promise people. So there are a number of different ways that you can do that. What you're seeing here on the right side of the screen is that a kind of a standard welcome flow built out in Klaviyo, the standard architecture there. What you want to do is kind of build off of this intro one and have different branches for each one of those lead sources. You'll actually have that information because of those integrations. You'll be able to identify different profiles by source and do splits in this flow so that each one gets their unique welcome first message with the proper incentive here. You don't want to leave any money on the table and just offer, you know, the deepest discount to everyone. We want to make sure that we do have it kind of tailored for each type of source. And then when we go from here, aside from the initial welcome email, we actually want to expand even further. Sorry, there's a little bit of a delay on these slides. So we want to extend that onboarding experience beyond just the initial discount. We want to have a whole drip campaign built out. So depending on how you have your welcome series already built out now, you may be able to use one of those really great Klaviyo features where you can rejoin the different branches so that they enter into your standard generic welcome series for a few emails, and then maybe you branch back out later on to remind people of the discount if they still have not used it. There are also a number of other flows that you can build out trying to convince these people to move forward with actually taking that step of the first purchase. If you have some things built out, like, you know, your browse and your cart abandonment, we'll get into those in a minute. Those can also trigger so that we're hitting people kind of from all different angles here. Okay, so when we are talking about moving past this and driving conversions, there are a few different features in Klaviyo that you're going to want to leverage. Really, first is that segmentation tool in Klaviyo, and there's so much that we can do with this. You'll want to start probably a little basic to begin with. Just look at your numbers and see if you have people who are adding items to the cart, but they're not placing order ever of all time. Those are going to be those fresh leads that you just got from those the lead gen ads, and you're going to want to be able to target those people with dedicated campaigns, possibly some flows that are triggered by people entering this segment in particular. And then you can also actually pass this back out into your ad platforms again to retarget them in a different way to get them to engage through those ads. Some things to be mindful of though here are that you can take this a step further, and you can actually do things like not just people who've never purchased before, but you can say people who purchased just one time and you're really trying to get them to do that second purchase to build on the loyalty side of things. You have a lot of different options, mix and match, play around with it. You'll definitely have many things you can do on the Klaviyo side and the advertising side. A couple of the flows that we'll talk about briefly are things like the back in stock and the price drop. So for the back in stock, this of course has been a very popular feature over the last couple of years with COVID, with shipping delays. It's really been beneficial incredibly to a lot of our clients who have had issues with their supply chain. So there's actually a feature where people can literally sign up on the website saying, hey, we want to be notified when this item comes back in stock. You automatically then can trigger an email to go to those people. You can also, if they don't check out because the item's in stock, but then it might be because of a pricing issue. So if the item's in stock, they didn't check out, we may want to then alternatively look at, okay, is there a discount offer, something in that price side that we can attack strategically to try to get them to check out. So anytime you're, when somebody views a product on your website, if that price drops, you can then retarget ads to them. You can send them email saying, hey, we know you were looking at this and now the price is even cheaper. So you can kind of dive into that FOMO of making sure that they don't miss out on that temporarily lower price. And we'll move into, what do you do now that you have the data in Klaviyo? What we've done with the data already there with the segmentation, the flows, the dedicated campaigns. Now, if we're going to be leveraging this more strategically on ads to get more of those 5 outcomes accomplished, this is really the process that we're going to want to go through, kind of the order of operations. First, you want to make sure that you're outlining, apologies, this is going forward. I'm trying to get it to go backwards to the right slide. Bear with me for a moment. Okay, I think we're good. So in terms of order of operations, you really want to start on the paid side with a high-level marketing plan of, what channels are you going to be using, which audiences are you trying to address with these different channels, establish your budgets. I would say don't get too attached to the details at this point because likely you are going to have to update your plan a little bit, refine it as you actually look at your data. You're going to need to take a look at what types of data do you actually have available in Klaviyo, what's the quality of that data, and how much data do you have available? Because there are going to be some restrictions in terms of advertising. You need to have, an audience of a certain size. And as Caitlin mentioned, there's all different types of data points that you can collect as you're doing the lead gen forms. So keep that in mind as you're setting those up, what information would be most valuable for you to have so you can push information back out to them. So once you know kind of that high level plan, then you're going to go into that segmentation tool directly in Klaviyo to identify the audiences. This is where you're going to play around and have some fun. And then once you have those people identified, that's when you can actually go set up those integrations. You don't technically have to wait, but I do recommend waiting so you can do it all in one fell swoop if you don't already have the integration set up. Integrations, for the most part, are very, very easy to set up. They take just a matter of a few minutes. There are really detailed instructions on the Klaviyo website for how to go through that process. It's really just like click here, click there, click here, copy and paste this, approve that. That's really all it is. And then once you have that set up, that's where you'll see the options to actually sync whatever segments you created. You can actually sync those with specific campaigns on those platforms. So you'll need to have those kind of both built out in order to connect them together at that point. Now that those are all connected, what you want to do is you want to make sure you're going live with those ads. You build out any other kind of materials that you might need, also supporting materials in the meantime before you run those ads, so that if you are promising them an incentive, in the future, that you're also delivering on that incentive in the future after they've taken the action that you want. A couple of kind of pre-work things that you're going to want to keep in mind, doing all that goal setting that Nick had talked about earlier with your marketing efficiency ratio, You're going to want to make sure that you have your lead gen ads set up already on those platforms as well. So that way you can sync that back in for like the Meta one in particular. You can sync that back in at the same time. Otherwise, you might run into a small hiccup when you're setting up the integration if you wait and set up the lead gen after. So a few items, a few audiences that you can actually look at potentially identifying to start out. Think about anyone who's ever purchased from you before. You probably want to, get those people back to purchase more. You probably also want to create some lookalike audiences based on that. People who have visited your website recently, you want them to come back and make that conversion. Anyone who's brand new to your business, you probably want to get to. People who have, though, more kind of specific use cases, people who only purchase full price. That's actually going to be a super high value audience of yours that you probably want to target with specific ads. And also people who maybe have lapsed in terms of engagement on your website, or who have stopped engaging on the email front. You may want to actually try messaging them then on their advertising platforms to try to get in front of them, get them back to the website. And then once they get back on the website, then they'll start triggering all of the other flows that you have built out in your Klaviyo account. So it all kind of feeds back into itself. So I do have a pro tip here. So one of the areas that you might want to do to really drive the best bang for your buck with your budget on advertising is actually also to create segments that you want to exclude. So if your goal is to acquire new people, you want to make sure you're excluding people who are not new, people that you already know about, people who are already in your database, right? People who are already making purchases from you. I love this example. My dad has been a long time client of an airline, big popular airline, and they're not excluding him from seeing his ads. So he's constantly seeing advertisements saying, hey, here's a steep discount, get your airfare. And he's like, what are you talking about? When I try to go to check out, I can't use that discount. And I've been a valued customer of yours for, 50 years at this point. I've spent so much money with you. Why can't I get that discount? And all these new people can, right? It makes him furious. So that's the kind of user experience that we're trying to avoid. That's why we want to make sure that we're excluding high value people as well from these ads. Just a few of the ad platforms to mention that already have some built-in integrations with Klaviyo. Meta, which is actually called Facebook advertising in the Klaviyo platform. That's how you'll see it listed in there. Google Ads, Criteo, Pinterest does connect through Zapier, TikTok as well, and a few other third-party platforms to connect those pretty seamlessly. You can usually go to that integration section in your Klaviyo account to connect those. If it's not there, you can go into the API section in your Klaviyo settings, and that's where you can usually connect something that's maybe through a third party. Or build your own integration. I know we've done that. So to put this a little bit more into practice, like an actual use case, say you want to sync a VIP audience. Well, this is one of the most common questions I get with clients is, how do I know who my VIPs are? How do I identify this audience? And there are so many different considerations to actually, think about, how do we define who our VIPs are? I generally will recommend that you kind of want to identify maybe the top 20% of your audience. So you'll play around with these settings a little bit to kind of mix and match to see how you can get around 20%. If you get more than that, then you're getting into more of that kind of average customer territory as opposed to the VIPs. So then it'll lose effectiveness in your advertising once we start letting those other people in. But a lot of different ways to look at it, the length of time that somebody has been subscribed, the length of time that they've been a customer. All this is on the slide. I won't read it all off to you, but think about different ways that you can leverage then that VIP once you've figured out, okay, these are the criteria that I want to use. You can retarget to those people to get them to keep coming back. You can create lookalikes off of them, similar audience campaigns as well. And there are a number of different platforms that you can leverage this on. So that little bit of work that's going to go into creating that segment will go a long way because you can leverage it in so many different ways to drive revenue for your business.
Quickly, on the topic of, there's a lot of things on these slides, TJ asked a question, will we be sharing the deck? So everyone's going to get a copy of the deck. Everyone's going to get a copy of the recording. And if you didn't show up today and you're watching the recording, it's because you also got a recording, even though you signed up but weren't able to make it. So yes, everyone's going to get copies of this.
Thank you, Nick. And I will pass things over.
Perfect. So now looking at what do we do with the first party data that we've gathered? What are different ways that you can utilize it? And the first way that you can utilize it is with awareness with Meta. And with that, you can create lookalike audiences. And so what a lookalike audience is on Meta is it's a percentage of the US population that's most similar to your existing user. So it really helps with reaching really promising prospects. So you can create lookalike audiences off of any variety of customer attributes that you utilize. So great examples that you can utilize is a lifetime value customer, product specific purchasers. So really utilizing your VIP segments and figuring out how can I leverage those email leads, create a lookalike off of it, and then also cater your ad towards that user. So one thing that Meta has the capability of really helping to do is that personalization aspect. So here, this example is one of our clients, and what we did here is we synced over an email list of all past purchasers of their Zoom bars. And what we did was create a lookalike audience off those past purchasers and delivered this ad to them for a discount of $5 off a Zoom bar to help with kind of increasing conversion rate and getting those getting new users to the site and converting very highly. So just one thing that you can do with the email segments that you create with lookalikes on the Meta side. And then when you're thinking about it, so after awareness, next part is thinking towards remarketing efforts. So what can you do with the first party data with remarketing? And with Meta, tons of opportunities to really pare down your remarketing segments. I went through here and there's a few segments that I called out. So some win back customers, re-engage with customers, cross-sell, upsell, your VIP customer list, your product specific customers. So there's so many different ways that you can go about with kind of segmenting down these audiences. And then again, pairing that with creative that speaks directly to the audience, because one thing that you really will see is that personalization aspect that really drives conversion rate. So again, another example here with our client is that they had a new product, Lavender Zoom. And what we did was we retargeted users that have made a purchase within the past, I think it was 6 months, and we pushed this new Lavender Zoom to them and saw a conversion rate increase because of a new product, pushing it to lifetime customers that way. So again, the thing with this is being very strategic and thinking about your remarketing segment with also your creative and pairing it together to create that personalized aspect to really drive conversion rate. And then we think about it on the Pinterest side of things. So like Faith was saying, Pinterest, there isn't a one-to-one sync connection with Klaviyo. However, you can use Zapier. And with that, with Pinterest, you can re-engage with existing customers, same way you can on the Meta side. So retargeting VIP customers and utilizing, again, pins that are specific to who you are retargeting to based on their attributes. So another great example would be, win back customers. So uploading that email list to Pinterest, and then what you do is create a pin that gets them to come back to the site. So that could be like a new product, a promotion. So again, being very hyper relevant with our pins and with our targeting to really drive really loyal customers.
Awesome. Oh, I'm back. We'll get there. Awesome. There we go. Performance Max. So this is now jumping into Google Ads and how we can use Klaviyo in the Google Ads interface. The first one and the newest, shiniest thing to come out of Google is Performance Max. Performance Max is unique in Google's sense that instead of using audiences as true like guideposts, like it cannot go outside of the lines for that one. It uses audience signals, which more guides it to different audiences, but it can go beyond that. So it's really important that if you add in your Klaviyo audiences here, even if they're just remarketing signals, it'll guide Google to users who are like those and even bring in prospecting audiences. You can use different audience segments like the VIP users, pretty much everything that Faith has already listed, we can then add into Google Ads. And one of the benefits of Performance Max is it's across the entire Google Ads display like network and search network, which includes YouTube, display, search, discovery, Gmail, and Maps. And I'll emphasize the Gmail placement there because we are then again feeding the same system that Nick had mentioned here earlier. We can also put lead gen formats in those systems. And then for the display and discovery side, on the top is display ads, and then on the bottom there are examples of discovery ads. Same thing, we want to use these audiences from Klaviyo to remarket to users on display and discovery. PMax does everything. Discovery is the only other placement besides PMax though that serves on Gmail, so that's going to be really important again to completing the cycle that we're going through. We recommend using those non-purchasers and past purchasers to really drive revenue through these really highly visual placements across the GDN, which stands for Google Display Network. Discovery is leaning towards using audience signals now, same way that PMax has, so their things are changing. We're guiding Google's campaigns towards these users, and any first-party data we can feed these campaigns is going to drive a lot as we go forward. And then on the video side, one of my personal favorites, we can integrate those same audiences into video action campaigns to market to your users. One of the benefits of video is we can really tailor that copy towards users based on the segment that they're in. So like Faith was saying, we want to make sure it aligns with what makes sense for what these users are searching for. So if they came in through like a certain product or promotion like Black Friday, Cyber Monday, we can remarket to them instantly with the same Black Friday, Cyber Monday copy and keep that cycle going, keep them staying in the VAC like we always want. On video, we can also layer in the Merchant Center to market the products that they viewed on the site back to them. So if they came in to the site, viewed something, they're in the Klaviyo audience, then they watched a YouTube ad, we can serve those products that they were interested in on the site back to them. Again, just completing the cycle. And then the last one here is search. So search, we don't always recommend doing audience targeting like the other platforms, or not platforms, other campaign types with Google, but you can still add those Klaviyo audiences as observation mode in the background, which just lets you gather data, understand how these people function and operate from the Google Ads perspective, and then act on it either within our channel or other channels as well. And the last one here is Criteo. This is a newer integration, but very exciting integration that we can now integrate Klaviyo with Criteo as well. So we want to re-engage those existing customers with super highly relevant programmatic ads. An example on the right is here again, serving those products in the feed back to them. Criteo also has some really pretty engaging ad types that aren't available on like the Google Display Network. So we're really pushing Criteo more and more. Some of the different ad types include showcase, dynamic, native, and more. You can do video, you can do tons of stuff with Criteo. The sky's the limit right now with programmatics, which is very exciting.
The point should be made as well that while Criteo is really new, I mean, it's like 1 or 2 months old, the Google Ads integration is also very new. It was Q4 of last year. The meta integration was like one of the first features Klaviyo ever had. It's why Klaviyo got on the map. So to see them expand the native integrations is really what we're trying to celebrate here in this webinar. It's nice to have a Zapier way to connect, but there's nothing like a true native integration.
Cool. Y'all, it's so hard for me to sit back and be quiet while we're going through this because I dork out about all of this. It's so exciting, and the exclusive team just has such a great depth of knowledge that I'm just like back here basically clapping. So I'm going to take us through the next part. So it's, if you think about what we've gone through, we've talked about a lot of different types of segmentation, big buzzword, a lot of the different audiences and how we can deploy them. I'm going to talk a little bit about how do we take it one step further? How do we actually use some of the other technology integrations you might be using to, again, tie into Google and Meta specifically? When we think about Klaviyo, I saw a couple of the questions, so I'm going to try to incorporate some of those answers too as we're going through. Klaviyo is most well known for our email marketing and our SMS. But this is a huge use case, one of my favorites to talk about, like I said. We work with all of the leading e-commerce platforms. Even if you've built something homegrown, we work with a ton of in-house built, custom-made platforms. And you can use these integrations that we're talking about directly through those platforms. Everything you're going to see in the next couple of slides is really relying upon the creating essentially profile data points. So in Klaviyo, every single customer that you have gets a dedicated profile. Everything we're looking at is basically built on the idea that when you're working with any sort of new technology integration, you're going to see lots of examples now. You can actually build additional data points onto that customer profile. It's the same place that when through email, through what a user buys, what they're browsing, in Klaviyo, we're adding all of that to the customer profile. And that's everything that we talked about segmenting on throughout the session so far. So everything we're talking about now, it's all about adding more data, capturing more customer first data that you can use to continue to build even more on top of what we've gotten through so far. So I just double clicked. There we go. So first three that we're going to talk about, we're going to go through 7 in total. The first 3, quizzes, on-site personalization, and reviews and user-generated content. With the audience being some people who are familiar with Klaviyo and some of our integration, some who are less familiar, I've put up some of the use cases so you can understand how you would pull this through to use it just as in Klaviyo as a whole, and then I'll talk about the voiceover will be about the Meta and the Google integration specifically. So if you think back to that slide that we talked about earlier, where we're really using Klaviyo as the center point to store all of your customer data, we have over 300 different integrations. This is just a sample of some that we work with. Quizzes and surveys. This is one of my personal favorites. Think about if you wanted to know more about a particular customer, you're trying to understand what are the things they like. There's a swimsuit example on the screen. Are they a one-piece person or are they a two-piece person? Are they looking for cover-ups? Do they like red swimsuits or blue swimsuits? Those are all things that you could capture in a quiz or a survey on your site. 1, they're just great for driving site engagement. 2, they're a great call to action and paid ads. And if you think about it, once you get someone to the site, they fill out that information, all of that information you've captured, you're then able to use in your ads, you're able to use it in your email, your SMS campaigns, but you could build lookalike audiences like we talked about. They're all different data points that you could also use to actually build really dynamic, personalized creative. So there's lots of use cases. You're going to see a lot of them are predicated on the same sort of concepts of segmentation and personalization, but the big difference is where the actual data is coming from. Let's say you're not running a survey or you're not running an on-site quiz, but you are doing on-site content personalization with one of these partners. Same use case, you can pull all of that information in, basically understand it, understand who the people are. Maybe they're just someone who's continually browsing one particular category. Maybe they're looking at face cleansers, but they don't really get involved in the eyeshadow side of things. You could think about that as for how you, might want to retarget or build those lookalike audiences. Additionally, you might also want to use it as that holdout audience, the ones that you're suppressing from seeing ads. And then the next group in this subsection is all about reviews and UGC. This is a really big opportunity. So with reviews, 1, imagine you have this great bucket of people who have left a ton of 5-star reviews. They're another audience you might want to think about building a lookalike audience off of, probably very similar to a VIP audience, but maybe folks that have not come in yet and have shopped as much as a VIP. So think about it as those 5-star folks. On the other end of the spectrum, there's those folks that have probably maybe left 1 stars. Not every buying experience is great. Occasionally there's a 1-star that comes through. That's a great audience that you probably want to suppress from your ad, so you're not spending money on them. And then there's that middle bucket, the places that fall in the middle. 2s and 3s, great audience you may want to put some test dollars behind. Those are people who maybe they didn't have a great experience. Maybe you found that they're not necessarily engaging with your emails or your SMS messages. Great way to potentially re-engage them through remarketing across Google and Meta and the various different ad formats that we've talked about. Now, the next couple that we'll go through are specifically starting to dig into slide. There we go. Subscriptions, returns, and loyalty. So another great place where you're getting lots of different data points in that you can again use to build robust segments and then drive your personalization. So when we get started, when we look at subscriptions, this is the particular instance where Sorry, slide delay. You may want to think about with the subscriptions, one, again, audiences you might want to re-engage. Do you have some folks who maybe their credit card lapsed, so you've not been able to get in touch with them, their subscription's coming to an end? Great way to reach out to them. Again, maybe you have a really big bucket of people who are in your subscriptions group, probably a great group to retarget to. So one, you could retarget to existing customers and say, would you like to sign up for a subscription? And then additionally, you could do lookalike targeting just to go after net new subscription customers. Returns, this is an interesting one. I think about this more from the suppression bucket. One, you could always remarket and try to get people in. Maybe they've only made one purchase, they returned it. Maybe you want to give them a slightly heavier discount to come back and make a second purchase. Or maybe you see someone is, they're routinely buying and they're actually returning quite frequently. Maybe they're struggling with the fit. Maybe you want to suppress them so you're not spending more dollars on their ads, increasing your cost to get them back to the site. And then the last group here that we're going to talk about is loyalty. This is obviously kind of the holy grail that we're always going after. There's no better group of people and no better tech integration to really drive that lookalike audiences than your most loyal customers. When you're using one of these loyalty providers, you're getting a ton of robust information. You know who's shopping, how frequently. You'll get that through Klaviyo, but this adds that extra pizzazz onto it. So definitely think about this, especially for lookalike audiences. And then the last one that we'll go through is influencers. So I know a lot of people are using influencers. Some people are still trying to figure it out. Couple of ways that we think about influencers when it comes to Klaviyo and then the Google and Meta integration. One, again, as always, great for lookalike audiences to drive new people in, just to make those first sales. Additionally, this could be a great way that you actually go out and find influencers. Maybe you have a pocket of influencers you're already using, but you want to get more into the program. You could think about building that lookalike audience, but rather than targeting for sale, target to get people into your program, especially if you're using one of these tools. So lots of different ways. I could go on and on for hours, but the biggest part of this is that it all comes down to how creative you can be with the segments that you're building. Who do you want to talk to? What do you want to say to them? And with that, I will toss it back over to you, Nick.
That was awesome. Thank you, Joe. And it's when we're talking about the overlap of so many already powerful technologies, clearly what we've presented today is the tip of the iceberg and a framework for how to get started with some of this. And hopefully it's helpful to kind of see that there's quite a bit of potential to think about first party data in a different way and to start coordinating across these multiple channels that otherwise are not going to yield their best performance if they're not working together. We thought we'd ask everyone if there was something that you might be interested in. So I'm sorry if you can hear my dog just started crying. How can Klaviyo and Exclusive help further your holistic email needs? So we put three options here. Like, I don't use Klaviyo, but I'd love to use Klaviyo. So Klaviyo will reach out. I'm on Klaviyo, didn't realize how much there is here, especially overlap with a holistic plan with Meta and Google Ads and TikTok and Pinterest and whatnot. So looking for a better actual strategy and not just treat this powerful tool as an email program. And then nothing right now, thanks. So we'll just launch that up for a second. And meanwhile, start looking at some of the questions here. My talk's hilarious. His timing is perfect. So I'll let this run for another 3, 2, 1. I appreciate that. Thank you, folks. I'm just gonna add one more poll here, which is, well, what about kind of outside of just Klaviyo? You know, is someone coming to the table, studying your competitors, your customers, and trying to figure out what the overall game plan is, your journey type, the distribution across the 5 desired outcomes of the 15 channels available? Which ones should you activate? How do they work together? What is your segmentation? That's the type of planning that we're constantly doing and then executing against. It's a different way of doing e-com that really maximizes your marketing efficiency ratio success. Oh boy. Oh boy. So we'll watch this. Oh boy, oh boy. And while that's live, we will go ahead and start looking at questions. So, do you guys have any particular questions you wanted to take a shot at?
Yeah, Nick, I can dive in. There was one question from Stefan saying that they saw the Shopify icon in, I believe, the segmentation builder screenshots that I included on some slides. So yes, Stefan, you can actually use whatever website that you're integrating. As long as it is connected, you'll have those options. And so if you have a BigCommerce site or Magento site, WooCommerce, whatever it is, you'll see that icon as opposed to the Shopify icon in your account once it's connected in there.
And TJ, thanks for saying that's life. Just roll with it. And Marco, those all natural dog treats sound interesting. So thanks for shouting that out.
I thought one of the questions that was interesting too that came through was about how would you think about using this for B2B audiences? And I think that's very similar where rather than just going down to like the product level, you just go up and focus on the category level. What are they browsing versus not browsing? So not all that different. You're just taking it a little bit higher up. However, if you think about your segmentation and you work with a number of different B2B buyers, that's something that you could look to solve through a quiz or something along those lines where you could be asking, you know, what are you? One of the use cases that comes up a lot with us is someone might have a furniture site, but they cater to interior designers. They cater to people who have small shops that might be reselling. So that's something that you could easily address kind of through a form. So then you capture that information, and then that becomes the segmentation that you use to fuel your ads, your emails, etc.
Yeah, and to build on that in terms of making lookalike audiences, for B2B, it's going to be the same types of parameters that we talked about before for B2C that you're going to look at for B2B. The numbers just might be a little bit different. So you are going to want to find your most engaged customers, the people who have the highest average order value, the people who purchase the most frequently, the people who purchase, the most number of products, different types of products, that people who have the fewest returns, people who have given you the highest reviews, people who are the highest ranked in your loyalty program. All those are the ones that you're going to want to make those the lookalike audiences based off of.
There were a few meta questions, Caitlin, if you want. There was one that was, does this eliminate the need for Facebook Pixel to collect data? And then there was another one that was, oh, how does Meta navigate lookalikes with privacy challenges?
Yeah, so I'll answer that one. So Meta, there's still the privacy challenges with even lookalike audiences. That's just something that Meta is still working through with iOS 14 and whatnot. It has had a slight impact on lookalike audiences across the board. But again, it's something I would say test and learn, test different percentage of lookalikes and see what works, what doesn't work, and try different email segments with lookalikes. So I think the biggest thing here is test and learn and then scale from there. And then the other one, I'm looking for the other one. What was the other one, Melissa? I cannot. Oh.
Does this eliminate the need for the Facebook Pixel to collect user data?
So I would say I would recommend still having the Facebook Pixel no matter what, because that helps you with remarketing efforts outside of just your email segment. So it helps you increase the size of your email segment. If for some reason the email segment you sync to Meta is not big enough and it can't run on its own, you have that ability to utilize the Pixel information to layer in with your email segment. So I would recommend definitely have the Facebook Pixel no matter what. So you are gathering that data for future growth opportunities, not only for remarketing efforts, but also lookalike efforts as well.
I'll say same for Google Ads. Keep their marketing tag on. Email lists only cover a certain chunk of users, not everything.
I'd also love to address TJ's comment here about gamification and thinking about, adults of a certain age. Are some of these tactics maybe not appropriate depending on your demographic? I love this comment, TJ, because actually I'm a gamer myself. I'm a hardcore gamer, and so actually through all my my undergraduate and graduate degree, whenever I could, I've done research papers on gamification and like how that impacts the user experience. So I've pretty well researched on that topic. And actually, gamification, I think, was a really strong buzzword for a number of years, and then it's kind of petered out. So no one's really talking about it anymore. But actually, the fundamentals of it are actually very, very applicable to pretty much any situation. You just have to think beyond kind of the obvious like game aspects of it and think about the more subtle pieces. So, I mean, when we talk about conversion rate optimization for a website, we're essentially using kind of gamification principles to try to get people to make that checkout. So they still do apply. They apply to any age, every age, and really gamers are all ages as well. Won't tell you how old my brother is, but he's playing games all the time.
Anyone else have one that they want to take? There's a lot of good stuff here.
Diane also mentioned Yotpo reviews and Klaviyo reviews. Those do connect. We've been using that for a lot of our clients as well who are using Yotpo for their product level reviews currently. So you can integrate those. That one is connected through that API section. I believe the Yotpo team, was the one who built that out. So there are instructions for that online that are pretty straightforward to follow, and you can seamlessly add your reviews to your emails, which is pretty fantastic.
That is correct. Only so much space for logos. Sorry about that one.
I like Tom's question. It'd be great to share strategies to grow email list. Do you have a plan for that? And we definitely touched upon it. In the part 1, part 2 of our webinar. Part 1 was about all the ways that you can use advertising to drum up interest and then immediately get those individuals into the email list. But yes, that's I would say that's kind of the tip of the iceberg in terms of getting into now what is the strategy, what is the segmentation strategy, the message per segment, how are we approaching ad spend levels and targets on awareness and consideration that culminate in the right marketing efficiency ratio, how successful is your customer lifetime value, what does that tell us about our CPAs, and how can we drive towards those goals. So a lot of high level decisions to make first and then execute against.
I think there was one other question that I saw that was about basically customer privacy and asking if you should be uploading like a list of emails that you may have captured at some point in time and then using that. The way that we're talking about it here is predominantly users who have actually come to your website, they're looking to make a purchase, they've opted in through a Klaviyo form or another type of form, and you have consent to market to them. So we'd want to make sure that there was consent established. The Klaviyo platform tracks that, and then that it easily builds that into the segment. So we want to make sure you have consent when you're doing any of this, and that's made really simple by the process. If you don't have consent and it's just a list you've had somewhere sitting on a shelf, we don't want to use that one. That's definitely not best practice and also really against consumer privacy.
Yeah, I think there was also a comment towards like, well, I don't want TikTok to have my email list. If you don't trust TikTok, you don't advertise on TikTok, then you would not connect to your Klaviyo to TikTok. It's as simple as that. You want to stick with the ad platforms that your customers would appreciate, that you're already advertising in. You're already remarketing to them. You're just giving yourself a little bit more clarity on who your most loyal customers are and who is engaged, so you can do a better job for the people who care the most.
There was also a question here about order tracking, and Klaviyo does integrate with several, order tracking kind of platforms. So I know Wonderment is one that comes to mind in particular that is integrated well with Klaviyo. We actually see some of those more kind of transactional type emails and text messages. Those tend to be some of the highest converting. So if you do have a platform and you do see that it integrates with Klaviyo, I would highly encourage you to actually set up the integration there and build out some emails and text messages to support it.
Folks, I know there's nearly 100 people still here. We appreciate you guys sticking around, asking questions, and being engaged. Hopefully you're looking at your Klaviyo in a totally different manner. Like you never knew how powerful it was, and can't wait to turn on all these dials and levers. So we've got a lot of conversations that have been asked of us, so we'll reach out. And Joe, thank you for being such a great partner. Thank you for stepping up and helping us with this. And Caitlin, Melissa, Faith, thank you guys for having such success in our channel side that we could talk about it. And thank you folks for taking time on a Wednesday. We'll see you all later.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone.